Hey folks, this is Jesse, and I've decided to make this video as a way of putting my thoughts into something visual. Now the topic is going to be, did Abraham and Ishmael build the Kaaba in Mecca? Now the reason why I'm choosing this particular topic as my introductory video is because I've been going back and forth with some of the Muslims here on YouTube and trying to get them to reveal their sources in articles for just how this is possible, that Abraham was in Mecca. Now what I'm going to do is try to build a case based upon the biblical record that this is just not true. Now, obviously I can't cover or anticipate every single question in a 5 or 6 minute video. But what I can do is discuss it and then supplement the video with other videos and of course text comments. So hopefully by the time this particular topic wears itself out, that anybody who has interest in it will have a much clearer idea of what is true and what can't possibly be true. Now, most scholars place the migrations of the patriarchs in what's called the Middle Bronze Age. Now, the Middle Bronze Age for the Middle East was between 2000 and 1550 BC. Now, of course, this would encompass and include the relevant chapters in the book of Genesis that we're discussing today. In fact, it's chapters 12 through 50. Now, obviously, in a short video, I cannot discuss every archaeological discovery and scholarly article written that substantiates the biblical perspective and dismisses the Muslim perspective just as easily as the biblical perspective dismisses the Mormon perspective. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do a comparative analysis of Islam and Mormonism, but for those of you who understand or have read the Book of Mormon and the rationale behind the Book of Mormon, you see some similarities between Islam and Mormonism. Now, what matters to this discussion, what's relevant to this discussion, is that Muslims cannot, no matter how hard they try, like Mormons, cannot place Abraham in Mecca until the 7th century AD, when Ahmed of Mecca, coincidentally, tried desperately to weave himself into the highest levels of covenant history and make himself an apostle to the Christians and a prophet to the Jews. Now this is scandalous and it's heresy, and I'm going to go into in these videos how that is. Now, when Ahmed of Mecca couldn't get his way, when he was dismissed as a fake, he decided to convert us by force. And his jihad against God's covenant people, Christians and Jews, hasn't ended since. Now, every shred of evidence, and there's not a lot, but every shred of ancient existing evidence has the patriarchs going no further south than the wilderness of Zin in the Sinai Peninsula, and no further east than a place called Midian, south of Canaan, on the shores of Aqaba, and dies nowhere near Mecca. Now, for those of you who don't know the region, Mecca is about 700 miles south of any destination of the patriarchs. Abraham, and that's who we're talking about today, started in Ur, went to Haran, and then traveled south. Now once he got to Damascus, Abraham either took what's called the King's Highway on the east of the Jordan, or he took the International Coastal Highway in Canaan, south. Of course, during the famine, he went into Egypt and then returned. to Canaan. He never went anywhere near Arabia except, again, through Sinai into Egypt. Moses, when he escaped, he went to Midian. This is why I say that the patriarchs went into Sinai and as far into Arabia as Midian. Moses went to Midian, which is on, again, the east side of Canaan. And he was there quite a long time. But even there, there's no evidence until the 7th century AD that any of these people were in Mecca. Now, this is similar to Mormonism. Mormons will tell us that not until the 19th century was there evidence of this grand civilization on the American continents. Mormons claim that there were chariots and gold coins and swords and so on centuries before Europeans brought them here. So once you test the evidence, it becomes a little bit absurd. So what I'm looking for are Muslims to provide me with evidence that Abraham was in Mecca. Now, if you're going to take the position that the patriarchal movements were all just fairy tale, literary devices to explain origins, let me know. Make that claim. I think that as a Muslim you can't, and as a Christian I can't. These are orthodox positions that I think that we're to be believers, we're forced into, like it or not, proof or not. We have to accept them. So, if these are just literary devices meant to explain origins, let's hear it. If, on the other hand, you believe, as I believe you should, that these people existed, I need to know what source you used to place Abraham in Mecca, building the Kaaba. So, let me know. I will respond either in video or most likely in text, and we'll see where the evidence goes. Now, I'd like you to consider one thing. Within the palace of Zimrilim, this is in a place called Mari, in the upper peninsula in the Middle East, near Akkad. I should provide a map. Maybe I'll do that. But there's a city called Mari. Now, Zimrilim was a king of this particular place, and he built this palace. It had like 260 rooms in it. And this is from the time period we're talking about. Now, there's been over 25,000 clay tablets written in Akkadian, taken from this massive palace. And not one of them speaks of a patriarch of the Arabs or the Canaanites, or I'm not going to go into what's called the Table of Nations, Genesis chapter 10, the generations of Noah. That's a separate issue, and people get lost. But one of the reasons why Muslims are gaining ground theologically is because people don't understand the Table of Nations and the generations of Noah. So maybe we'll go into that too at some point. But right now, I want to see some evidence that Abraham was in Mecca and that Abraham built the Kaaba. So we've got this palace, 260 rooms, and 25,000 clay tablets, none of them which mention a patriarch named Abraham or Avram or any other spelling. I think this lends a lot of credibility to the argument that Abraham was, until the 7th century AD, was uniquely an Israelite patriarch and didn't become an Arab patriarch until Ahmed of Mecca decided to recreate religion in his image and call it biblical monotheism. So I'm interested in your thoughts. I'm interested in comments. I don't expect politeness or civility. I'm certainly neither polite nor civil. And let me just establish my credentials before I close. I am a seminarian, devout Catholic, and believe that Islam is a 7th century heresy, no different than paganism and Gnosticism. And I think that in the coming months, I'm going to paint a very clear picture of Mohammedanism and leave no stone unturned in my search for biblical truth. So join me, and God bless.